Senator from West Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am here today to speak in support of the Congressional Review Act on the Stream Protection Rule. I want to say to those who participated in the last election, where part of the discussion was the federal government knows all, needs to be in your life and your business life every day, and knows the best way in a one-size-fits-all way. Help is on the way today. So a lot of the talk of the election is now going into action in the form of a Congressional Review Act. In particular, the Stream Protection Rule was a last-minute power grab that was aimed at giving more power to the federal government. Now, at the onset, I would like to say this. I don't have any charts. I don't have any pictures. But then I thought, you know what? Yes, I do. I've got a lot of pictures on my device here, which I will not open up because it's against the rules and you wouldn't be able to see anyway. But in these pictures, you'll see a picture of me fishing in a beautiful stream in West Virginia with Trouts Unlimited. You'll see me riding an ATV on the Hartfield-McCoy Trail, which is the old mining trails and the old lumber trails in southern mine country of West Virginia, where thousands of people come every year. You'll see me visiting a school or a business park that's built on the top of what is a reclaimed mountaintop removal. If you've ever been to West Virginia, they don't call us the Mountain State for nothing. It is mountain after mountain after mountain, difficult terrain, and in some ways, very difficult to have any kind of economic development. So when the laws are enforced, the laws that we have now in terms of water protection and reclamation, after the mining is finished, we've been able to have some economic development projects that have been to the benefit of the community and many of those. So I have no charge. I live there. This is my home. I can drive 4 miles and be at a coal mine very easily, probably less than that. And I heard the argument about outdoor recreation, that people want to have outdoor recreation. I just described 3 outdoor recreations in my state. And the ranking member was talking about that she'd fished in West Virginia and enjoyed it and had good luck, I hope, in any way. We have beautiful trout streams. But that the outdoor recreator doesn't want to see a coal mine. Well, I would bet the outdoor recreator doesn't want to see a nuclear plant, probably doesn't want to see a windmill farm, probably doesn't want to see a natural gas plant. Because when you're getting away to recreate, I don't know that anybody would want that. But I can tell you what they do want. They want the steel that's in their truck to get them there. They want the electricity that they have to have when they go home at night to cook their food or clean their clothes, or all the different things that electricity does. So, you know, there's trade-offs to everything. And certainly coal has provided the base load of the industrial revolution for this country. And we still, I think, have a great place to play. But there's estimates that this rule, and the other thing is that there's no rules in place until we had this rule. Absolutely false. Absolutely false. This rule was rushed in. It was worked on for 5 years, yes. It had 10 state regulators. And let me go back here. The regulation under the Clean Water Act of our clean is done by the states through the EPA, in conjunction, state and federal, with the EPA overseeing what the states are doing to make sure they're meeting the minimum standards. So there are protections in place, and we welcome those protections. Where we live, where everybody lives, we want that, and can we do better? Absolutely, we can do better. We should always strive to do better. So this rule has been in the making for 5 years. 10 states came to this table. 10 states who were most heavily impacted, to try to help the Department of Interior to develop this rule. Now, our DEP Secretary, Randy Huffman, he says that this proposed version of a stream protection rule, and this is not a Republican-Democrat thing, this is a Democrat governor's DEP commissioner, says that is, quote, unnecessary, uncalled for political gesture. He went on to say, quote, the combined administrative record developed throughout the history of mining regulation under SMACRA is totally devoid of any indication of a need for this radical rewrite of the regulations governing the way coal is mined in this country. That is Other states have made comments as well. We have the Ohio State Chief of Mineral Resource Managers, Lanny Erdos, testified before our EPW committee. OSM has not provided for meaningful participation with cooperating or commenting agency states. Basically, what these regulators, state regulators who are charged with the primacy of putting forward the water standards in their states and overseeing mining in their states, were basically invited into the party and then put in another room and not listened to. And 8 of them walked away. That's got to tell you this wasn't an even playing field, and maybe not, and probably a very insincere effort to include everybody's opinions. In Wyoming, Todd Parfit said, quote, "The failure to engage cooperating agencies throughout this process is reflected in the poor quality of this proposed rule." We've heard a lot about empathetic voices of the job losses. 60,000 miners since 2011, many of them in my state. Many of these men and women are making $80,000, $90,000 a year, no longer have a job. They're living in communities that are decimated. Our state's $500 million in the hole. We're trying to transition. We're trying to do the right thing. But rules like this that we are about to overturn through the CRA process are such a overreach of authority. I mean, the EPA has already gotten slapped down by the Supreme Court for the MATS rule. They put a stay on the Clean Power Plan. There are definite questions as to the authorities that the past administration had put forward. United Mine Workers of America President Cecil Roberts, he says, "We are especially concerned with the long-term negative effects this rule is very likely to have on the future of longwall coal mining in the United States and associated employment impacts of our miners." We've heard about mountaintop removal. There is a strong belief that this will impact our underground mining as well. And that's pretty much, I wish I knew the exact percentage, but I would say well over 70 or 75% of the mining, and it may be more than that. I hosted Senate committee meetings, field hearings on energy jobs in Beckley and Logan and Morgantown. Bo Copley, a coal miner who lost his job, talked about the impact these regulatory policies were having on him, his family, young family, community, and former colleagues. We heard about the fact that the health and pension of our miners is in deep trouble. I've been very much on board. Senator Manchin and I have been working hard with many, Senator Portman, Senator Brown, those more affected regions, to make sure that the mining health and pensions of our miners are funded, and that those miners know that they are there for them and their families, the benefits that were promised, the promises made, promises kept. But with this downturn in the coal industry, it heavily affects the ability for the pension funds to be solvent and for the health benefits to be carried on. So there's a direct correlation between the overregulation that we've seen and the effects in the health and pension funds. The ranking member and we just had a good conversation, the ranking member from the Energy Committee said sometimes, I think, I'll paraphrase, but we're sort of talking by one another, and I think maybe that she's right in certain effects. And she mentions the effect of natural gas on the coal industry. Yes, that's had an effect on the coal industry. But this rule that was proposed, rushed in at the last minute by the Department of Interior, would have an even more devastating effect than the combination of regulations to this point, the combination of that, natural gas and market conditions. So you say, oh, how rushed in was it if it was being worked on for 5 years? Well, they didn't publish the rule until December 20th of 2016, after the election, at which overregulation was one of the key factors that we discussed during the election, and the effect on economies and businesses and the ability for American workers to continue to work hard and keep their jobs. And Americans rejected the continuation of these policies. So they published the rule in December of 2016, and then it was made effective January 19th of 2017. What's January 19th of 2017? It's the day before the President Obama leaves office. No irony there at all, I don't think. So I am here to say that Senator McConnell has and I have put forward this. It's one of the first ones that has come forward in terms of the Congressional Review Act. Help is on the way. The President will sign this. He has said in his Statement of Administration Policy, the administration is committed to reviving America's coal communities, which have been hurting for too long. Again, I can tell you about it. I can probably show you pictures about it. I live there. These are my friends. These are folks that I see every day, see in the grocery store. And we've seen the effects in our region to the point of 6 of our counties are in deep, deep depressions. So I want to congratulate the House of Representatives for passing this earlier today. I want to thank West Virginia Representatives David McKinley, Evan Jenkins, and Alex Mooney for voting yes and getting a strong vote. I'd like to thank Leader McConnell for his leadership on this and the 27 other co-sponsors of this bill. Lastly, I'd like to say, we heard the gentleman from Hawaii talk about how this is really going to create jobs. Well, I found an article from the Wall Street Journal on December 20th, 2016, and I'm going to quote from them. Interior's projections about the economic impact are laughable. OSM reckons the rule would cost a mere 124 coal mining jobs a year, whereas other estimates are almost as much as a third of the jobs. Okay, that's not a quote from here, but I injected that then. But instead of visiting operating coal mines, the wizards at OSM built their estimates on computer models. They even reported a net gain in jobs, and I think this is what the gentleman from Hawaii was talking about, as miners are replaced by workers who are implementing the rule. Less mining, but more workers. Genius. It reminds me a little bit when we were talking about all of the regulatory burden of Dodd-Frank, which I'm sure we'll be getting into in another CRA, where I was on the Financial Services Committee over in the House for a long time, and we learned when Dodd-Frank went into effect, within a year and a half, the largest growing profession were bank auditors. So governments created jobs for bank auditors to put forward their rules. It sounds a lot like that's what OSM has done with this rule. So I would just like to close with this. We're going to move forward with this because it's important to our region. It's important to a lot of working people. It will not and does not in any form or fashion allow fouling of the water, fouling of our streams. There are protections that are carried forth through our state regulators who came to the table for this rule, who felt that they were not being listened to, and over the course of 5 years all drifted out. I don't think they were invited back. And so I am confident that this will have an effect of saying, America, you voted to unleash the American economy, to let our regulators regulate, to let our clean water statutes move forward in conjunction with state and federal regulators, to let Americans know that the federal government is not going to be reaching into every aspect of your life, and it's going to result in losing your job, creating hopelessness. 72 teachers being laid off in my county last month because we've lost people, real estate values going down, and the loss of really a valuable resource that leads to the strength and to the viability and to the security, because energy security is security for our country, for our whole country. I thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.